Hey, it's Brock here with Rock Hill Farm, and this is
Chad, Doss Farms.
And today we are doing a head-to-head comparison between a TYM 574 and a Bad Boy 5045. And this comparison would apply to several other tractor models that are very similar. This tractor is basically a TYM or Branson 4820. The 5520 and the TYM 394 are going to be basically the same machines. So I'm going to put you on the spot right now because we're going to go details of every little thing we like and don't like about these after we traded tractors for a week. But right now on the spot, if you had to take one tractor or the other one, which one do you want?
Start with that one. That's what you started with.
I don't like to bury the lead. Which tractor do you like?
I tell you, there's guys bigger than us, but that cab on that TYM is noticeably bigger. Easier to get off and on, in and out, everything.
And so it's going to be pros and cons. There are a list of things I like better about each machine that we're going to cover. But for me today, if I was taking one machine or the other, I'm taking the 574. And the reason I'm saying that at the beginning is if that's the information you want, you've got it. But now let's get into why. So I recently did a video titled, Why TYM Crushes the Competition. And I gave 3 reasons that basically what I said is TYM is the best at these 3 things. And those are 3 things that matter to me. So if what matters the most to you is having the most smooth joystick controls that easily do 2 functions at a time, you might want a Kubota. But the 3 things that matter the most to me is the price, the lift capacity, and simplicity of design. And I said, this 574 wins because it wins at those 3 things. How much can you pick up for what price, and how simple and easy to understand is the design of the machine? Well, all of that is equally true about both of these machines. They are very similar in that they lift the same amount, they have the same size tires, they're both really well priced, they're both manufactured by TYM. So everything I like about them is the same. I mean, 2,800 pounds rated lift capacity, 2,700 pounds. They have the exact same tires on them. Now, an important note is Lucas from Peaks Peak bought a 4820, which is the same tractor as this, and he got the same size tires too, but he had to special order those. I think the standard tire option on this machine is a little bit smaller. So if I was buying one of these, I bet for like a few $100s added onto the price tag, you can get it with the same tires that you see in this video.
I thought it was crazy we both said TYM because you've sat in a lot of tractors, but we're talking about these 2 right here. But some of the reason I lean towards the TYM are things that you can add to any tractor. What is the rear PTO remote? I just call it rear remote. But that rear PTO remote to raise and lower it, if you have a cab especially, it is really a pain not having that. My Coyote Open Station has it.
Let's go back here and show you what he's talking about in case anyone's not familiar. When you're hooking up an attachment with this tractor, you've got a lever right here that lets you lower it. Now, he used the word rear remote. Both tractors have rear remotes. I don't know the term for this handle, but the ability to raise and lower your 3-point makes a big difference. And that should be on here, and I think it may be an upgrade option, but if I was buying this tractor, I'd look at what it costs to get that lever on it.
Immediately. I would not buy it without it, to be honest. I've had one on my Coyote, and it was, it's open station, a few less horsepower, less lift capacity, the Coyote is, but it was $5,000 cheaper. I mean, I know there's less tractor there, but it still had that option, and it was standard. I didn't know that it came without it.
I think in this size tractor, it's very rare not to have that. And someone in my comment section said Bad Boy was going to make that standard, but that's speculation. But if you're going to get one, look for it, because for both of us, that's a big deal in this comparison.
It is a big deal, and I tell you, I built a lot of fence, and anybody, if you're running an auger, you want that. Don't even mess, if you're going to run an auger at all, you're buying a little compact tractor, you want that rear control. It's funny, this looks taller sitting here, and this is actually the low side of my driveway by maybe 4 or 5 inches. But it looks taller, but you sit up higher in this.
Yeah, so let's jump inside this machine and talk about usability features. So I've been talking about this comparison as if the Bad Boy tractor was a TYM 4820. And while it's very similar, there is a different buying experience. That Bad Boy has a giant dealer network They're offering really good financing packages and free attachment deals. And right now, you might actually get the best value out of the bad boy. But that's a little bit different than talking about which tractor is the best. So when you're actually sitting in this tractor, you feel like you're up higher and you have slightly better visibility of your paddles for connecting your 3-point, or your, when you go to pick up an attachment, you have slightly better visibility down here. It feels like you're up higher. But this cab, because you're up higher, it makes you more congested this way, and it feels tighter side to side. And it may just be the way these fenders are made, but for usability, like, I really like the location and the feel of the loader joystick. I think this loader might control a little bit more smoothly than the 574. Yeah. That's why I'm saying for some people that's a big deal. For me, not really. I mean,
I think it depends on what your line of work is with it. I mean, if I'm moving hay, it's up and down. I'm stabbing a bale and then I'm driving, I'm not. But if you're like landscaping, you bucket out of the back of a truck and stuff like that, this is going to be key if you like this or that.
Yeah, and some people who run equipment for a living are real particular about that. But to me, I think this controls a little bit more smooth. But I really have an issue in here with this. And someone said theirs wasn't as bad. And it may be a difference in this bad boy has a heated seat, and maybe the armrests are wider. But this is just the reality of if you have your armrest down, it's all I can do to stick my arm in there. And then if you lift that up, you're kind of like this to do your 3-point. And that, there's a lot of differences between these machines, but if it's uncomfortable to use my 3-point lever, that's really annoying. You can't really reach behind it and reaching beside it. So if you're only raising and lowering at once, no big deal. But if you're wanting to feather this while you run, you're kind of like in an awkward position.
Absolutely.
Anything else about sitting in the operator seat that jumps out to you?
Getting in and out. I can't stress that enough.
So I'll show you what he's talking about. Sorry to interrupt you, but when you get up from here, you have to kind of contort and like twist around, or you have to swivel your hips to get up around the steering wheel.
And honestly, you're not coming out this way ever.
Yeah, this is tight.
Not that this door is irrelevant. I like it better than not having it, but it's not an exit.
So this is wider. This gap right here is wider on the 574. And something about the seat being a little lower and the position of the steering wheel makes it easier to get in and out of the machine. And for some guys, that may be the biggest factor. And then some people may not care that much. So other things from inside the cab. Both machines have a brake pedal that you depress and then a physical lever that locks that into place. On the 574, this lever is up here. That's a little bit more comfortable. So what I'm noticing repeatedly in this comparison is ergonomically, this tractor factors in operator comfort more.
This was the first time I set the parking brake on the 574. I was like, oh man, why is this down here in the floor?
Yep.
I mean, makes zero sense.
So it gives you simplicity of design because this is right here, the simplest way to design it, but it's not the most convenient for the operator.
Now you can press it to release it.
So the biggest negative to me, even more so than that rear 3-point adjustment, is these pedals right here. So I'm sitting like this. I don't want to have to shift my leg, my entire leg. I want to be able to just move my foot to push the pedal. So whenever I go to push this, my leg is up in the air and my knee is up here, and that almost is uncomfortable to your hip, the angle you're at. And it's just a little bit of a leg workout running these pedals. So the position and the amount of resistance behind these is annoying, enough so that you're going to find yourself using the cruise control probably more often, whereas I never use it on my other tractor. But for this, I might just not feel like pushing the pedals. As far as driving the tractor, this has a 4-range transmission. Now, I'm not sure if that's better or not. I would say pros and cons, I would put this in the pro. This is a positive feature. But within a hydrostat, it's infinitely adjustable with the pedal. But having too many ranges, like you wouldn't want 25 ranges on this, right? So what is the right number? I don't think you would ever want more than 4, but I'm not sure if having 4 is better than 3. Again, it might depend on what you're doing. You might want 4, but that's just a difference, a 4 range versus a 3 range on the transmission.
And they both have linked pedal.
Yes.
So I typically do live in 2 or 3.
Does this one also you can't shut off the linked pedal?
From what I know, you can't shut it off.
So most people are familiar, but I'll explain it for anyone who isn't. That you can set your RPMs, your throttle, with this lever exactly the same as if you did not have linked pedal. But the linked pedal means that if this is low and then you push down, it increases your throttle. So you can't push this all the way down and have your throttle low. And generally, there's no need to. And if you don't like it, just run it at full throttle, and this is no different.
You know, one thing I'm going to pick on real quick. I know that this is typically standard, but I almost wish this was forward and this was reverse. It'd be a million times more comfortable, in my opinion.
Yeah, with the arrangement of these pedals, I agree with you, because this is the one you're using all the time, and this one's not uncomfortable as much as this one is. And that might be different if I was 5'9".
I agree.
Whereas we're both over 6 foot tall, that makes it a little bit different. But on the linked pedal, if you don't want this, you can take a physical cable and unloop it from the throttle mechanism inside the engine, and you no longer have a linked pedal, and everything would work the way it normally would. But on the majority of tractors, you have a button right here. If it has linked pedal at all, you have a button that turns it on and off. Now, is that better or worse? That comes down to me being a grouchy old man, but I don't want unnecessary controls and switches that are run by a computer on my tractor. A tractor should be simple, and I may be in the minority there, but every added functionality is just something to go wrong. So I don't know if I'd rather have that ability to turn that off or not. One thing I like better about this tractor from an ergonomic standpoint is these are in a better place. These are your rear remote levers, and they are more comfortable, whereas on the 574 that we'll show you in a minute, those levers are down here. This is something that I don't really care for. This is how you turn on your PTO, and it has an independent mode and an auto mode. To me, this is trying to get fancy, and I don't see a reason to want that auto mode. But the way that works is, in this mode, every time you lift your 3-point, it shuts off the PTO. And if you guys know an application where that's really useful and you want to have that, let me know what it is. But for me, I think engaging and disengaging the PTO on something that is hard to turn over is hard on the tractor, and I don't want to engage and disengage every time I turn around.
I also worry about the safety of having the auto feature. Now, what's crazy is I borrowed a buddy's Mahindra 40 horse, and it had that auto feature. It's about 2 years ago, but the Coyote has it as well. And
the possibility exists that this is in auto and the 3-point's lifted and you don't realize it's still on. Is that likely? Probably not. But you could start it spinning when you lower it, and maybe someone's out there messing with it or something. So just something to think about. And if you're considering a TYM, I've made the case that you are considering it in large part because it has less electronics on it. Do you have a John Deere that has the E-Hydro that has 7 different controls up on a little computer that you can adjust all these different variables within your hydro? Or would you rather it just be simple? Now, all of this is ergonomics and usability, but we're going to get into some build quality stuff in a minute. Oh, about to trip getting up here.
we just said it was bigger and easier to get in and out of, and then you trip on the door.
Yeah, that step is a little bit higher. With the same height tires, this platform is the same height. And you compare this to any other competitor in the 50 to 60 horsepower hydrostatic tractor range, these platforms on these two tractors sit about 3 or 4 inches higher because the tires are bigger. But if you get the bigger tires on the bad boy or the 4820, it'll be the same. But when you look at this, on that bad boy, I was sitting up here and my view is like this, and I'm looking down at the steering wheel. Now the hood is right in front of me and I have less visibility of my bucket. And maybe visibility of your bucket is your #1 concern when buying a tractor. Well, that's your winner over there. But I'll let you hold this. And with this, There's still something to it, but when I get up out of this, I just get up and I just step out. That is easier and more comfortable. So how many times a day do you get in and out of your tractor? So this range selector is in a great place. It's a 3 range. There is your 4-wheel drive on and off. The other tractor had a giant cup holder. Do you care about cup holders?
I don't particularly, as long as it'll hold like a
Some people always
12-ounce
have that
can.
big cup with them.
Yeah. My
But-
wife would need one that was about that big for the Bubba keg.
So inside of here, I really don't care about this stuff, but they've taken up less plastic over here, which gives you room to reach around here. Now these rear remotes are in a worse place, being down here, because I have to twist to reach them. But the 3-point right here, this is easy and comfortable. Now I would say both of these tractors have a problem with the 3-point adjustment being kind of jerky. If you're wanting to fine-tune adjust that, it's not smooth. And when you say, why is this tractor $15,000 or $20,000 or $25,000 less than the other tractors? What are you giving up? You're giving up some of the advanced electronic controls, and you're giving up maybe how smooth that 3-point runs. This one has something else that I'm not even going to talk about really, because it has draft control. And draft control is one of those things, every time I've talked about it in a video, everyone told me I was describing it wrong. So I'm not going to try. If you want draft control, this one has it, that one doesn't.
I know you're going in an order, but the visibility out of the TYM, there's a big windshield behind you to be able to see what's down low even.
And so, yeah, I do think you have better visibility behind here to see what you're doing behind you. And also, these windows open, whereas they don't on the bad boy.
No, just the back glass.
Yeah, so you've got these windows that open, and then you've got a little bit better visibility back here. This has the long loader joystick. It's a little bit further of a reach, but not a big deal really. You got your throttle here. And honestly, I complained about that having the auto and the manual PTO over there. This one does too. And I kind of just forgot because I've never used it. I only put it on this manual PTO. But I don't really like this design of why does it need this and this. This is your PTO on and off. I would eliminate this altogether. But tell me why you guys want an auto PTO. So then here's this, and it works the same. The only difference is I don't have to lean forward to put that one on. And then here, I'm sitting still to move that. My legs aren't really moving. It's just my foot moving, and there's less resistance behind it. Now, there's a modification online where you can remove the tension. There's like a spring or a shock tensioning mechanism underneath that bad boy tractor. You can remove that, and it's a lot freer. I didn't do it because I don't own that tractor. Chad doesn't own that tractor, and I didn't know if it was going to be a safety concern to show that on YouTube, or if maybe TYM would or Bad Boy would prefer we didn't show that type of modification, because apparently they put that resistance on there so that you don't accidentally lurch into something when you go over a bump or something like that. But if I owned that tractor, I would disable the tension behind those pedals.
And I'm in the forum on Facebook where a guy showed how you could, take that out of there. But you're right. Does it make it, pardon the term, does it make it too loosey-goosey? Because I don't want to be cruising down here with my dumpster on Friday morning and hit the bottom of my hill.
So if I bought that machine, I'd find out.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely take it off and try it. It's almost like if I could describe it, it's like a turnbuckle about this long. And it looks like you can just adjust it a little bit. But if it comes that way and that's what they wanted, it's a bit much, in my opinion.
At this point, I think there's probably a lot of people out there asking why I'm not comparing how strong or how stable these two tractors feel or how the lift capacity compares. Well, the truth is, I can't tell a difference between them. They're the same size machine on the same frame with the same engine and the same rated lift capacity. The power and stability feels exactly the same to me. Now, if you're wanting to know how these compare to the rest of the competition, I did a 14-part video series comparing this size tractor from every single manufacturer. Any brand that makes a 50 to 60 horsepower hydrostatic tractor is in that series, and you can watch it all here on the channel where I've got a playlist for it.
So to this point, everything we've talked about is ergonomics, comfort, and usability. But I want to throw something else out there because this review is slanting in favor of the 574, and that's not intentional. I'm trying to be brutally honest, and I'm telling you, we're both on some level sponsored by the dealership providing these, and I'm telling you things I don't like about both of them. But I called that dealership. It's Jake from the Tractor Yard. He has his own YouTube channel. He's been on my channel a lot. He's a great source of information on these machines. And when I was coming down here to do this comparison, I called him and I said, which one of these machines would you buy? And he said the 4820. And his family was Branson dealers for 20 years before TYM bought them. And he says that they're just so dependable, like nothing ever breaks, they're overbuilt, and they're just a tank of a machine. And that's something that in a week of playing around on them, I can say I like the feel of this lever, but what if the axle's just built stronger? So that's kind of an insight I got from a guy who sells both machines and has no reason to favor one over the other. They're both really manufactured by the same company. And we talked previously, we're talking about these as if they're both TYM tractors. But Bad Boy is their own brand. They are buying the tractor from TYM, but then you're getting sales, after-sales support, and service support from Bad Boy, and it does have a few unique twists on it. But let's look at one of the biggest reasons I would choose a 4820, and it comes down to strength of the design. If you look at this axle, you've got support here where your axle connects, but then you've got this over-the-top support right here that ties the top of this to this. And I'm not going to get all this terminology right, but basically this is supported above and below. When you look at the 574, we're supported below, but we're not supported above. And essentially, I'm going to be showing you this week a kit that connects this point here to the top up here for added stability. Now, I spend a lot of time online talking to people about tractors. Facebook groups, forums, comment sections on YouTube, other tractor owners. I go to the shows. I don't find an epidemic of people having axle failures. But which axle would I rather have? I'd rather have this one. Both of these tractors have a Kook J engine in them. I believe it's the same Kook J engine. And that the only difference is that this one has the 55 horsepower because it has a turbo on it. This one doesn't have the turbo. If you got this in the 5520, then you've got the turbo. So engines, there's nothing really to compare. On the back side of the tractor, we've talked about, we're missing the lever here, but both machines have the two remotes. A lot of this is the same. We've got extendable draft arms. We have the pin style system here for controlling our sway. But this has something else that I just covered in a video that I think probably published yesterday from the time you're watching this. This block right here can pivot, giving this a float function, independent float function between your two 3-point lift arms. And that's a little feature I think is really cool, and I'd like to get some time in to find out how valuable that really is. The last comment I would make on these two machines is I think I don't like the seat the Bad Boy puts on this. It's a heated seat, but driving this tractor, I bounce all over the place more than I do on this one. And I'm trying to understand why, because when you look under them, the way they're bolted on, and that way the cab is attached to the axle and the frame, and everything looks about the same. So there's only two possible differences I can see. One is that one has fluid in the tires. Maybe that kind of cushions the ride. And then this one has that suspension seat. And so either that seat is bouncy or something I don't understand, but I feel like it bounces me around a little bit more.
And these tires could be maxed out. I know that can affect it.
Yeah, some people have been telling me to let some air out of the tires. I haven't been able to decide if I think that's a good idea or not. So all these are things you can put in the comment section. Would you let air out of your tires? Do you think that suspension seat is the problem? Which one of these two tractors would you buy? Do you have anything else to add about them?
No, I think you'd be happy with either one, but I do think there are some noticeable or notable differences. You've really got to figure out what do you want.
Yep, and a lot of it comes down to how user-friendly is the operator station to me. But basically, you're getting the same three things I talked about at the beginning. Lift capacity, great price, simplicity of design, and I think they're just well-built machines. So hopefully this helped, and I appreciate you taking time to watch the video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.